Welcome and thank you for joining us tonight on the Bushina Bowl Week 3 Update podcast. It's been 2 weeks since we've last had our podcast, so we've got a lot to catch you up on this week. And I'm joined tonight, as always, by Eric Tang. How you doing?
Doing well, Hunter. How are you?
Hanging in there, Doing it a little earlier this week on a Tuesday night, so trying to keep you Bushina Bowlers updated on what's going on in the league. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into the action. We're going to take a look at Week 1 and Week 2 and see how things look heading into Week 3. So after 2 weeks, we have an interesting duo at the top in the Legion of Lou and Excalibur at 2-0. What are your thoughts there, Eric?
I can't believe it. You look at Trevor, a man who finished last year. Dead last, by the way. And he's up on top, so cards are falling in his favor this year. And Lou, the guy, we give him a lot of help, but he has won the TAP League 2 years in a row. Obviously not as high a caliber as the Bushina Bowl, but obviously something is working out for him.
Yeah, it's an interesting duo that I did not expect to see at the top of the leaderboard after 2 weeks, but as you know, a lot of things can change. So, we have O-Town Throwdown sitting at the bottom along with the Wrath of Erath. And, it's just not the place you want to be after 2 weeks.
It's not, and I think it's kind of interesting when you look at the bottom of the group after Week 1. It was all of the top teams from last season. We're all sitting there at 0-1. You, myself, Big C, Little C. So it was just a strange thing. Now there's a little bit more parity. I think about 3/4 of the league is sitting at even after 2 weeks. So we'll just see what happens going forward.
Yeah, it's an interesting time in the Bushina Bowl, so nobody's really out of it yet. But let's see kind of how these teams got to where they're at. Week 1, I believe it was, that the Wrath of Erath got annihilated by Excalibur, a 57.74 point margin there. I mean, that wasn't even close.
Not even close. Trevor almost had double the pointage that Erath threw up on the board. So that was huge. Got to thank Erath because I took a whooping from old Ghost of Brother Che there. But luckily you were there to keep me from taking the biggest lost title.
Yeah, so that was not a good point in the Wrath of Erath's early season here. The closest matchup in Week 1 was Money Edwards getting slightly edged out by Boss Chalder. That was a tough fight for him, but Money Edwards would go on to get his first win in the second week. Large margins of victory were everywhere else pretty much in Week 1. Not a lot of close games, but that would soon change in Week 2. We saw 3 teams lose by 3.06 points or less. I mean, that's just crazy.
It is, and I think that really is the best part of fantasy football when you look at it. And, of course, the blowout's always fun. But when you have to sit there on Monday night, I myself did, and watch that one player just try to pull it out for you, it really makes things interesting.
Really does. So, a lot of people fighting in the wee hours of their matchup. So, it's always an exciting week in the Bushina Bowl. So the closest matchup of that week would be featuring the Broshines, myself, and O-Town Throwdown. And it comes down to a Sunday night where Hauschka would make an early 50-yarder off the goalpost and then would not get another attempt throughout the rest of the game. So I was sweating that one out a little bit and was happy to get the victory there. Tough loss for the Throwdowns, though.
It was. I think Earl, our buddy Earl, had high hopes for O-Town Throwdown, but so far he's kind of floundering. It was a big week for the kickers, though. It
was. There was a lot of kickers that, really stepped up and produced more than a lot of the other players on the teams.
I did. I had Crosby with 16. I believe he was the second highest scoring player on my team.
Wow.
Yeah. Really helped me pull it by Erath there.
Kickers are people too, people. Come on.
Yes.
So we'll move on to another matchup where Legion of Lou claimed the largest margin of victory over the ghost of Brother Che in week 2. That was with a margin of 17.78 points, much smaller than the week 1 margin of 57.74 points. So again, kind of 2 different weeks here. A lot of blowouts in week 1, and then week 2 was pretty tight across the board. So that's going to wrap up the recap of week 1 and week 2. Going to pause for a quick commercial break, and we'll join you after that.
Take off your shoes, your socks, sneakers and sandals, those high heels, flip-flops, those hush puppies are high tops. There's no reason to be shy about your feet. We make the pain go away at Boonpa Dietary because we believe in your feet. They carry us everywhere. We give the care that you need at Boonpa Dietary.
And we're back. Thanks to our friends from Boone Podiatry for giving us a little commercial break there, which is a great segue into the next segment we have here, the injury update. Going to take a look at some of the more notable injuries of players that are out for a long time. So we'll jump right into Dez Bryant with a broken bone in his foot. Looks to be out 6 to 8 weeks. Quite a hit for the receiving core of the ghost of Brother Che.
It is, he does have Julio Jones there to kind of anchor that receiver core, but losing somebody like Dez is huge, no matter who else you have on your roster. So, be interesting to see how Taylor handles that going forward. See, what type of roster moves he makes.
Yeah, and the guy that throws him the ball is actually injured as well. He's going to be out for 11 weeks, looking at eligibility for a week 11 return. Tony Romo. Broken collarbone. Looks like it's going to be Teddy time for Excalibur.
It is, and things just aren't going well for Jerry Jones in there. I think I saw today that Witten might even be questionable for this weekend. So I mean, that's 3 cornerstones of the Dallas Cowboys franchise down there.
Yeah, it's not the greatest time to be a Cowboys fan, but then again, when is it? So. Some of the other injuries that we're looking at, a little more short term, we've got Ellington, Breeze, Coleman, Lacey, just to name a few. Definitely some other ones out there, but Dez and Tony are going to be the long term. Need to do some roster moves to really recover from some situations like that.
Yeah, and with we have a lot of other short-term injuries so far this season, but with the way things are going, I wouldn't be surprised if we have to add another marquee player to that list of big injuries there.
Yep, it's like dodging bullets out there. So that'll wrap up the injury update. And the next segment I'm really excited about is the Power Move of the Week. Power Move of the Week is our weekly segment where we're going to highlight the biggest transactions, trades, roster moves. So this is Blaze's Power Move of the Week.
All I need a little
Power moves. We're making power moves today.
So this week is actually going to be a little different. We're going to look at a power move that really favored the opponent in this situation. Boss Chalder left Larry Fitzgerald on the bench with 29.2 points. Could have grabbed the win if he would have swapped him out for DeAndre Hopkins. No, that's probably not the easiest move to make, but what a power move there.
It's definitely a power move in Little C's favor. Like you said, we're looking at this being kind of your biggest roster move, waiver wire pickup. Usually those kind of come into play a little bit later in the season, but I think you and I both were really excited to get this segment involved early on. So we had to go with this.
Yeah, this is something we've been looking forward to for a while, so we'll keep it coming and be on the lookout for the power move of the week next week. Or in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. And I do have to say one last thing. DeAndre Hopkins, went up against Josh Norman, who is, so far, it's only 2 weeks, but he's turning out to be one of the premier corners in the league early on in the season. So keep that in mind, everybody. If you're putting a receiver up against the Panthers D, Josh Norman, you might not come out happy.
It ain't going to be fun for you. So that's going to be our power move of the week. We're going to go ahead and take a look at week 3, what's in store for week 3. We're working our way through this somewhat short season, so, every win is valuable. So Legion of Lou is actually looking to stay undefeated, while the Wrath of Erath are searching for their first win of the 2015 season. Is this something you expected going into the season?
Not really. It's kind of playing out just like the real league is. We've got a lot of great teams at 0-2 and a lot of mediocre teams at 2-0. But you look at this, and this touches back to one of those injuries you mentioned earlier on. Drew Brees is most likely going to be out for the weekend. I think we can say that. And so maybe that'll give Erath a leg up here trying to get his first win.
Yeah, that'll be something to keep an eye on. A guy that can make or break it for you at the quarterback position. So Lou is definitely going to have to keep an eye on that. Outside of that, we've got 3 1-1 teams that are going to be squaring off in what should be an exciting week. So, really this thing is anybody's Bushina Bowl to win. You're not out of it yet, so, keep grinding, keep fighting, and, maybe you'll get that week 3 win and send you on your way to a good Bushina Bowl season. So I think that's going to wrap it up for us tonight. Just want to remind you that we are now in the iTunes store, so please subscribe to stay updated. With our bi-weekly podcast, we're going to go with a bi-weekly format right now in the interest of all of our weekly activities, weekday activities. So works out a little better for us to do bi-weekly. So we're going to be rolling with that. So I think we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. So have a good night.
Like cuckoo cow, Lord, I wish Matt Lou could see me now. Wish Goldmouth was home, mailman was free. A lot of niggas crossing over.